Let me reveal to you the exact principle by which this operates in consciousness. What appears as delay, what feels like resistance, what seems like endless waiting, these are actually the final moments before manifestation. Just as the darkest hour comes before dawn, your greatest resistance precedes your greatest breakthrough. Here is the divine law. When manifestation seems furthest away, it is actually closest at hand. For in the realm of consciousness, every feeling of distance is actually a sign of imminent manifestation. Your breakthrough is not coming, it is already here in consciousness, pressing against the thin veil of appearance. Now let me share with you something profound that few will ever grasp. The very fact that you are receiving this message, that you are hearing these words, is absolute proof that your breakthrough is at hand. For in divine law, nothing comes to your attention unless it is already seeking expression in your world. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my breakthrough is not coming, it is here now. For in the realm of consciousness, there is no waiting, no process, no delay. There is only the acceptance or rejection of what already is. Let me share with you now how this principle operates in specific areas of your life. For this law is absolute and applies to every sphere of manifestation. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that the very presence of desire is proof of its fulfillment. For in divine law, no desire can exist unless its fulfillment already exists in consciousness. The desire itself is the shadow cast by the manifestation that already is. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your desire is directly proportional to the immediacy of its manifestation. That burning sensation you feel, it is not longing, it is the pressure of manifestation pressing against the thin veil of appearance. That persistent vision, it is not fantasy, it is reality seeking expression. Now here is something profound about desire that most will never grasp. The universe will give you desires it cannot fulfill. Every desire you feel is actually the universe announcing what it is about to deliver. Your desires are not your tormentors, they are your prophets. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my desires are not mere wishes, they are announcements of what must come. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as unfulfilled desire. There is only delayed recognition of what already is. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your apparent obstacles. Every barrier you face, every resistance you encounter, every setback that seems to delay you, all of these are actually signs of imminent breakthrough. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that time itself is nothing but a servant of consciousness. What appears as delay in the world of Caesar is actually perfect timing in the realm of divine law. For in consciousness there is no waiting, there is only the perfect unfoldment of what already is. Here is the exact law. The moment of greatest doubt is the moment of imminent manifestation. That feeling of how much longer is actually the birth pain of your manifestation. That sense of will it ever happen is the final resistance before breakthrough. Now here is something profound about divine timing that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't delay, it develops. What appears as waiting is actually the perfect preparation for manifestation. Your seeming delays are not denials. They are divine setups for perfect manifestation. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing. Every apparent delay is actually perfect timing. For in the realm of consciousness, there is no such thing as waiting. There is only the perfect unfoldment of divine order. Let me reveal to you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your current circumstances. Every condition that seems fixed, every situation that appears unchangeable, every reality that feels permanent, all of these are actually fluid and responsive to your consciousness. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that circumstances have no power to persist except through your consciousness of them. For in divine law, what appears as solid circumstance is actually as malleable as clay in the hands of your imagination. Here is the exact law. Your current circumstances, no matter how seemingly fixed, are actually in a constant state of flux, responding moment by moment to your consciousness. That unchanging situation, it is actually trembling on the verge of transformation, that fixed reality. It is actually fluid, waiting for your consciousness to reshape it. Now here's something profound about circumstances that most will never grasp. The universe doesn't see your current conditions. It sees only your consciousness of what could be. Your circumstances are not your prison, They are your canvas, waiting for the brush of your imagination. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my circumstances are fluid and responsive to my consciousness. For in the realm of consciousness, there is no such thing as fixed reality. There is only the constantly shifting reflection of your assumptions. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your past experiences. Every failure you've endured, every setback you faced, every disappointment you've survived, all of these are actually building blocks for your imminent breakthrough. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that failure is impossible in the divine economy. For in consciousness, what appears as failure is actually success in rehearsal. Every seeming defeat is actually preparation for victory. Every apparent setback is advancement in disguise. Here is the exact law. The magnitude of your previous failures is directly proportional to the scale of your imminent success. Those bitter defeats, they were actually training grounds for triumph. Those painful setbacks, they were actually positioning you for breakthrough. Now here is something profound about failure that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't recognize failure. It recognizes only experience, only preparation, only development. Your failures are not your identity, they are your education preparing you for success beyond measure. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, every failure transformed into greater success. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as permanent defeat. There is only temporary instruction, only momentary redirection, only perfect preparation. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your perceived limitations. Every boundary that seems to restrict you, every limitation that appears to confine you, every ceiling that seems to cap your potential, all of these are actually springboards to greater expression. For every boundary that seems to confine you, every restriction that appears to bind you, every limitation that feels insurmountable, these are actually the launching pads for your greatest expansion. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that limitations exist only in consciousness. For in divine law, what appears as limitation is actually an invitation to transcend, to expand, to break through into new dimensions of expression. Here is the exact law. The more confined you feel, the greater your imminent expansion. That sense of being boxed in, it is actually the pressure building for explosive growth. That feeling of being restricted, it is actually the compression that precedes expansion. Now, here is something profound about limitations that most will never grasp. The universe doesn't recognize boundaries. It recognizes only opportunities for expansion. Your limitations are not your prison walls. They are your launching pads, designed to propel you beyond all previous boundaries. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing. Every limitation contains within it the seed of greater freedom. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as permanent restriction. There is only temporary compression before expansion. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine potential. Every talent that lies dormant, every gift that remains unexpressed, every ability that seems blocked, all of these are actually gathering force for magnificent expression. Here is the exact law. The greater your sense of unrealized potential, the more imminent its expression, that feeling of untapped greatness. It is actually your manifested reality demanding expression, that sense of unrealized dreams. It is actually your success pressing against the present moment. Now, here is something profound about potential that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't give you abilities you cannot express. Every talent you possess, every gift you've been given, every capability you feel, all of these are guarantees of their own expression. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this, knowing my potential is not future possibility, it is present reality seeking expression. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as unrealized potential. There is only temporarily unexpressed reality. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine timing. Every moment that seems delayed, every opportunity that appears missed, every timing that feels off, all of these are actually perfect orchestration in divine sequence. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that nothing in your experience is accidental. For in divine law, what appears as coincidence is actually consciousness made visible. The outer world reflecting your inner knowing of imminent manifestation. Here is the exact law. The increasing frequency of synchronicities in your life is direct evidence of approaching manifestation. Those meaningful numbers you keep seeing, they are actually consciousness confirming your breakthrough. Those chance encounters, they are actually divine orchestration making way for your good. Now, here is something profound about divine science that most will never grasp. The universe doesn't speak in whispers, it speaks in patterns. Every recurring sign, every repeated message, every persistent synchronicity is actually the universe confirming your imminent breakthrough. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing every synchronicity is confirmation of my manifestation. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as coincidence. There is only the visible evidence of invisible law. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine preparation. Every lesson you're learning, every challenge you're facing, every experience you're having, all of these are actually perfect preparation for your imminent breakthrough. Let me reveal to you now how this principle operates in the realm of your seeming setbacks. For every obstacle that appears in your path, every resistance that rises up, every challenge that confronts you, these are not barriers to your breakthrough, they are announcements of its imminence. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that setbacks are actually setups. For in divine law, what appears as opposition is actually opportunity in disguise, resistance actually advancement in reverse clothing. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your current challenges is directly proportional to the magnitude of your imminent breakthrough. Those overwhelming obstacles, they are actually measuring the size of your coming victory. That fierce resistance, it is actually calculating the scale of your impending triumph. Now, here is something profound about setbacks that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't send obstacles to stop you. It sends them to strengthen you. Every challenge you face is actually custom designed to prepare you for the level of success that awaits you. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my setbacks are actually divine setups. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as opposition. There is only opportunity wearing a mask. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine precinct. Every skill you're developing, every lesson you're learning, every experience you're gaining, all of these are actually perfect training for your imminent elevation. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that relationships are not fixed, they are fluid expressions of consciousness. For in divine law, what appears as separation is actually preparation for deeper union. What feels like disconnection is actually realignment for perfect connection. Here's the exact law. The depth of your current loneliness is actually measuring the magnitude of your coming actions. That sense of isolation, it is actually creating space for divine relationships. That feeling of disconnection, it is actually clearing the way for perfect unity. Now here is something profound about divine relationships that few will ever grasp. The universe doesn't remove people from your life without purpose. It rearranges relationships to match your rising consciousness. Every relationship shift you experience is actually aligning you with your next level of expression. Throughout your consciousness, maintaining this knowing every relationship change is perfect divine orchestration. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as lost connection. There is only perfect realignment for greater expression. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine purpose. Every confusion about your path, every uncertainty about your direction, every doubt about your calling, all of these are actually clarity in disguise. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that purpose is not something you find, it is something you allow to find you. For in divine law, what appears as confusion about purpose is actually perfect purpose preparing to reveal itself with absolute clarity. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your questioning about purpose is directly proportional to the magnitude of your coming revelation. That deep uncertainty, it is actually certainty gathering force. That persistent questioning, it is actually your purpose pressing for recognition. Now, here is something profound about divine purpose that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't hide your purpose from you. It reveals it through the very questions that seem to obscure it. Your confusion is not a barrier to clarity. It is the soil from which absolute certainty will grow. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing my purpose is not lost. It is revealing itself with perfect timing. For in consciousness, There is no such thing as purposelessness. There is only purpose preparing for perfect expression. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine abundance. Every financial strain, every material lack, every resource limitation, all of these are actually abundance gathering force for expression. When you truly understand this principle, you will see that lack is impossible in the divine economy. For in divine law, what appears as scarcity is actually abundance compressed. What feels like limitation is actually unlimited supply gathering force. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your current financial pressure is directly proportional to the magnitude of your coming abundance. That overwhelming sense of lack, it is actually abundance compressed to its breaking point. That feeling of restriction, it is actually unlimited supply preparing to burst forth. Now, here is something profound about divine abundance that few will ever grasp. The universe doesn't create lack, it creates pressure for expansion. Every financial strain you experience is actually the universe compressing abundance until it must explode into manifestation. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my current limitations are actually unlimited supply and compression. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as lack. There is only abundance preparing for expression. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine health. Every physical challenge, every bodily limitation, every health concern, all of these are actually perfect health pressing against temporary appearance. Let me reveal to you now how this principle operates in the realm of your divine health. For every physical limitation you're experiencing, every bodily challenge you're facing, every health concern that troubles you, these are actually perfect health pushing through into expression. When you grasp this principle, you will understand that illness is impossible in divine reality. For in divine law, what appears as sickness is actually health asserting itself. What feels like limitation is actually wholeness pressing through appearance. Here is the exact law. The intensity of your current physical challenges is directly proportional to the magnitude of your coming health breakthrough. That persistent condition, it is actually perfect death-gathering force. That chronic issue, it is actually wholeness preparing to express. Now here is something profound about divine health that few will ever comprehend. The universe doesn't create illness, it creates opportunities for greater health expression. Every physical challenge you face is actually perfect health, demanding recognition. Throughout your consciousness, maintain this knowing, my body is not broken, it is breaking through to perfect expression. For in consciousness, there is no such thing as permanent illness. There is only temporary appearance yielding to divine reality. Let me share with you now how this same principle operates in the realm of your divine wisdom. Every confusion you experience, every uncertainty you face, every doubt that clouds your mind, all of these are actually perfect understanding gathering force. Let me bring all these eternal principles to their ultimate culmination. For what I have shared with you tonight is not merely theory, it is the absolute law of imminent breakthrough, the divine science of manifestation. Here is your final revelation. You who sit here now hearing these words, receiving this message, you are not approaching your breakthrough. You are standing in its very presence. The very fact that these words are reaching your consciousness is absolute proof that your manifestation is at hand. Remember this fundamental truth. The universe, which is your own wonderful human imagination pushed out, must respond to your consciousness of breakthrough, not by human timing, but by divine law, not by mortal calculation, but by eternal principle. Here is your final instruction. Take what I have revealed to you tonight and live in the absolute assurance that everything you desire is already pressing against the thin veil of appearance, seeking expression. For this is not mere possibility, this is divine law. I tell you with complete authority, if you will maintain this consciousness of imminent breakthrough, your entire world must reshape itself to reflect this truth. Every obstacle must yield, every limitation must dissolve, every barrier must crumble before your consciousness of imminent manifestation. Go forth now in the absolute, knowing that your breakthrough is not coming, it is here. You are not approaching it, you are standing in its presence. You are not waiting for it, you are witnessing its unfolding. Remember, you are not calling forth something that does not exist. You are simply awakening to what eternally is. Everything you desire already exists in divine substance. pressing against appearance, waiting for your consciousness to align with its expression. Let this be your conviction as you leave here tonight. Your breakthrough is not a future event, it is a present reality. It is not something to achieve, it is something to accept. It is not something to create. It is something to allow. For this is the eternal promise, and it cannot fail. What appears as delay is divine timing. What feels like resistance is reality gathering force. What seems like waiting is actually manifestation unfolding. The end has been reached for you. Now possess the key to all manifestation, your consciousness of imminent breakthrough. Use it faithfully, use it consistently, and watch every obstacle transform into opportunity, every limitation into liberation, every barrier into breakthrough. My dear wonderful friends, tonight I shall share with you the most powerful secret in all of creation, how to speak to yourself in a way that will completely transform your world in just 3 days. Not in 3 months, not in 3 years, but in 3 days. For you see, the power of your inner conversation is absolute, and it is the only true creative power in the universe. Now, when I tell you to talk to yourself, I am not speaking of the idle chatter that most engage in throughout their day. I speak of that inner conversation that is deliberate, conscious, and aligned with your desired state. For your inner conversation is your consciousness externalized, and your consciousness is God. Consider the words of Scripture. In the beginning was the Word. These words are not speaking of some external deity's utterance. They speak of your inner word, your inner conversation. For you are the operant power, and your inner conversation is the word that creates all things. Many of you come to me asking, Wayne, how long must I wait to see my desires manifest? And I tell you now, give yourself 3 days of proper inner conversation, and you will see your world begin to transform. For 3 is the number of completion in Scripture, and when you maintain the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you set in motion forces beyond your current understanding. Let me share with you exactly how to conduct this inner conversation. First, you must understand that your inner conversation must be from the end. You do not speak of what you want to be true. You speak as though what you desire is already true. This is the great secret that most of the world has missed. When you wake in the morning of your first day, your inner conversation must be from the state of your wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation must be that of a wealthy person. If you desire health, your inner conversation must be that of a healthy person. If you desire love, your inner conversation must be that of someone who is deeply loved. But then, this is crucial, your inner conversation must feel natural. It must not be strained or forced, for feeling is the secret, and your inner conversation must be accompanied by the feeling of naturalness. Let me give you a perfect example from Scripture. When David spoke to Goliath, his inner conversation was not, I hope I can win, or I will try my best. His inner conversation was from the state of victory already achieved. This is why he could say with complete conviction, this day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand. Now, for these 3 days, you must guard your inner conversation as though your life depends upon it, because it does. Every time you catch yourself engaging in inner conversation that contradicts your desired state, you must immediately revise it. This is not a suggestion. This is a command if you wish to see your world transform. Consider this. Every outer conversation you have is first an inner conversation. Every relationship you have is first an inner conversation. Every circumstance in your life is first an inner conversation. Therefore, by changing your inner conversation for just 3 days, you literally change the entire substance from which your world is created. Let me tell you how to structure your inner conversation throughout these 3 days. In the morning, your first inner words must be from the state of your wish fulfilled before you open your eyes, before you move a muscle. Engage in the inner conversation of the person you wish to be. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation might be, I am so grateful for my abundant life. Money flows to me easily and continuously. I am surrounded by prosperity, but remember, these words must not be mere affirmations. They must be spoken with the feeling of knowing that they are already true. Throughout your day, your inner conversation must maintain the same level of conviction. When challenges arise, and they will arise, your inner conversation must remain steadfast. If someone speaks of lack, your inner conversation must be of abundance. If someone speaks of illness, your inner conversation must be of health. This is where most fail in their attempt to change their world. They allow their inner conversation to be pulled into the current circumstances rather than maintaining the conversation of their desired state. But I tell you now, circumstances have no power over your inner conversation unless you give them that power. For these 3 days, you must be relentless in maintaining your new inner conversation. When you walk down the street, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. When you eat your meals, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. When you prepare for sleep, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. Let me share with you a principle that I have tested and proven countless times. Your inner conversation is the only reality. Everything else, absolutely everything, is a shadow of your inner conversation pushed out. Therefore, when you maintain the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you literally create a new world. Many of you may be thinking, but Wayne, 3 days seems too short a time to change my entire world. Let me remind you of the story of Jonah. How long was he in the belly of the whale? 3 days. And after 3 days, he was transformed, and his world was transformed. This is not coincidence, my dear friends. This is law. 3 days of proper inner conversation is all that is required to set in motion the forces that will transform your world. But these must be 3 complete days, not 3 days of wavering between states. During these 3 days, you must guard your inner conversation, not just in your waking hours, but as you fall asleep. For the last inner conversation you have before sleep is particularly powerful. It continues to echo through your subconscious mind throughout your sleep. Therefore, as you prepare for sleep during these 3 days, your inner conversation must be perfectly aligned with your desired state. If you desire a successful business, your inner conversation might be, I am so grateful for my thriving business. My customers are delighted with our services. Profits increase continuously. But remember, and this is crucial, your inner conversation must be accompanied by the feeling of naturalness. It must feel as natural to have this conversation as it feels to speak of what you had for breakfast. This is where the power lies, not in the words themselves, but in the feeling of naturalness that accompanies them. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your outer conversations. Therefore, during these 3 days, you must be particularly vigilant about your outer conversations as well. They must align with your new inner conversation. If someone asks you how you are, your response must come from your desired state. If someone speaks to you about problems or difficulties, your response must come from your desired state. Your outer conversation must be a perfect reflection of your new inner conversation. Many of you may find this challenging at first. You may be tempted to engage in conversations about current circumstances rather than your desired state. But I tell you now, this is where your power lies, in maintaining your new conversation regardless of appearances. Consider the story of Jesus walking on water. What was his inner conversation? Was it about the impossibility of walking on water? Was it about the danger of the storms? No. His inner conversation was from the state of mastery over all natural laws, and his outer world had to conform to this inner conversation. During these 3 days, you must maintain the same level of conviction in your inner conversation. You must speak to yourself as though your desired state is already your reality, not as though it will be, not as though it might be, but as though it is. Let me share with you how to handle doubts when they arise during these 3 days, and they will arise. When a doubt appears in your mind, do not fight it. Instead, immediately revise your inner conversation. If you catch yourself saying inwardly, this isn't working, immediately revise it too. Everything is working perfectly. My world is transforming now. This revision must be immediate and complete. You cannot allow doubt to linger in your inner conversation. For remember, your inner conversation is the only reality. Therefore, a doubting inner conversation will create a doubting outer reality. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be dominated by gratitude. Not gratitude for what you hope will come, but gratitude for what is already yours in your desired state. This gratitude must be part of your inner conversation throughout the day. When you wake in the morning, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. When you go about your daily activities, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. When you prepare for sleep, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your inner states, and your inner states create your outer world. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of your wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of wealth consciousness. If you desire health, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of health consciousness. If you desire love, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of being loved. Many of you may be wondering what to do if you slip in your inner conversation during these 3 days. Let me be very clear, you must not condemn yourself. Instead, immediately revise the conversation. Remember, you are training yourself to maintain a new inner conversation, and like any training, it requires practice. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your primary focus. Every other activity must be secondary to maintaining your new inner conversation, for you are literally recreating your world through this conversation. Let me share with you how to structure your inner conversation for specific desires. If you desire a new home, your inner conversation might be, "I love living in my beautiful new home. Everything about it is perfect for me." If you desire a promotion, your inner conversation might be, "I am so grateful for my new position. It's everything I desired and more." But remember, these are not mere words. They must be accompanied by the feeling of living in that new home, the feeling of working in that new position. Fulfilling is the secret, and your inner conversation must generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be specific. Vague inner conversation creates vague results. Therefore, speak to yourself with clarity about your desired state. Be specific in your inner conversation about what you are grateful for, what you are experiencing, what you are enjoying in your desired state. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your self-concept, and your self-concept creates your world. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about who you are, not just what you have. If you desire success, your inner conversation must be about being a successful person, not just about having success. If you desire abundance, your inner conversation must be about being an abundant person, not just about having money. If you desire love, your inner conversation must be about being a loved person, not just about having a relationship. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be continuous. Not in the sense of constant chatter, but in the sense of consistent alignment with your desired state. Every time you become aware of your inner conversation, it must be from your desired state. Let me share with you how to maintain this continuity. Set reminders for yourself throughout the day. Every time you look at your watch, every time you eat a meal, every time you enter a room, let these be triggers to check your inner conversation. But remember, your inner conversation must not be mechanical. It must be aligned with feeling rich with the emotion of your desired state, for it is the feeling that gives power to your inner conversation. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be sovereign. You must not allow anyone or anything to dictate your inner conversation. Not circumstances, not other people's opinions, not past experiences. Nothing must have power over your inner conversation except you. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your expectations, and your expectations create your experience. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must create the highest expectations of good for yourself. Many of you may be thinking, "But Wayne, what if my desired state seems impossible?" Let me remind you, nothing is impossible to your inner conversation. Your inner conversation is God in action, and to God all things are possible. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about possibility, not probability. You must speak to yourself from the state of your wish fulfilled. Regardless of how probable or improbable may seem to your rational mind, let me share with you how to handle apparent failures during these 3 days. If something happens that seems to contradict your desired state, your inner conversation must remain unchanged. You must speak to yourself as though the seeming failure is actually part of the perfect unfolding of your desire. Remember, your inner conversation is creating your reality, not the other way around. Therefore, no external circumstance has the power to change your inner conversation unless you give it that power. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your constant companion. It must be the lens through which you view every experience, the filter through which you interpret every event, the standard by which you measure every circumstance. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your belief system, and your belief system creates your reality. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must consistently reinforce the beliefs that support your desired state. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be a perfect reflection of the person you wish to be. You must speak to yourself as that person would speak. Think as that person would think. Feel as that person would feel. Let me share with you how to maintain this level of consciousness. When you catch yourself speaking from your old state, immediately ask yourself, how would I be speaking to myself if I were already the person I wish to be? Then revise your inner conversation accordingly. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about what is not, what was, or what might be. You must speak to yourself in the present tense from the state of your wish fulfilled. This is crucial for the manifestation of your desire. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your future, but it does so by creating your present. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must make your desired future your present reality. Many of you may be wondering what will happen after these 3 days. Let me tell you, if you have maintained the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you will have set in motion forces that must result in the manifestation of your desire. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your primary tool for creation. Every other method, every other technique, every other approach must be secondary to maintaining your new inner conversation. Let me share with you how to know if your inner conversation is correct. If it feels natural, if it feels real, if it feels true, even in the face of contrary evidence, then your inner conversation is correct. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be protected like a precious jewel. You must guard it against doubt, against fear, against negativity, for your inner conversation is the very substance from which your world is created. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with yourself creates all other relationships. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must reflect the highest, most loving relationship with yourself. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your sacred practice. You must treat it with the same reverence that a priest treats his prayers, that a scientist treats his experiments, that an artist treats his creations. Let me share with you how to maintain this level of devotion. See your inner conversation as your direct connection to the creative power of the universe. For that is exactly what it is, your consciousness in action, creating your world. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your constant reminder of who you really are, the operant power in your world, the creator of reality, the God of your uniqueness. And that, my dear friends, is how you must talk to yourself for 3 days if you wish to transform your world. Not sometimes, not occasionally, but consistently, continuously, constantly. For your inner conversation is the Word of God in action, and it cannot return void. Remember this, your world is your inner conversation pushed out. Therefore, guard your inner conversation for these 3 days, as though your life depends upon it, because it does. So what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue with your old inner conversation, creating the same results you've always created? Or will you begin today, this moment, to maintain a new inner conversation that must create a new world? The choice is yours, but the law is absolute. Your inner conversation creates your reality. Therefore, speak to yourself for 3 days as though your desires are already fulfilled, and watch your world transform. That's the message I want to leave you tonight. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. Not because it's simple, but because it's powerful. Not because it's what you expected to hear, but because it's what you needed to hear. Remember, 3 days of proper inner conversation will transform your world every single time. And isn't that worth thinking about?